The Texans' ugly wins are exposing their offensive flaws.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go. Hard work, work. Everybody doing it right. Hard work, work, work. That's what I say. Hard work, work, work. Earn my pay. Hard work, work. Hard work. Do it every day. Hard work, work. Get up out of quarter to three. Hard work, work. Let me go and earn my pay. Hard work, work. Boots on and lace.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? You're tuning into the Sports Talk with Big Sarge show. I'm your host, Big Sarge. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Make sure you follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Because you know we do everything for the gram. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel at Big Sarge Media, and make sure you are subscribed to the Locked On Texans podcast, available wherever you get your podcast from. All right, let's go ahead and get this show started. Good morning, roll call present. Hey. Let's see who else we got on here. Good morning, Sarge. What I saw from Kenny Green was inexcusable. I've been asked for Buda Baker to come to Houston, but we need that line, Chef OG. All right. And good morning. All right. Hey, before I get started, I gotta start doing something. I want to start doing something when I start this show, y'all. And you bear with me, but I gotta do this because I am a pawpaw. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I am a pawpaw. And my two beautiful granddaughters out in California right now, they like to see pawpaw with the cowboy hat when they go to YouTube. So McKinley, Doodle, Zia, ZZ, Pawpaw, love you. I will FaceTime you all later when you get out of school. Hey, listen, I talk to them all the time. Listen. So yesterday, Sunday, was at the game, right? Was at the Texans game, watching the game, covering the game, write down notes, this, that, and the other. And out of the blue, McKinley, who is the oldest grandchild, texts me. Pawpaw, I have a question for you. Sure, what's up? Have you seen Beetlejuice, the new one? I don't even remember Beetlejuice, the old one, but no, I haven't. Have you seen it? Is it good? I've only seen the cartoon one. Oh, well, I guess we're going to have to check it out. So I want to make sure that my babies get a chance, get an opportunity to go see Beetlejuice if their mom would take them, because I don't overstep my boundaries at all, period. I don't overstep my boundaries. I let her be her and her husband. They're the parents. I don't overstep my boundaries because I know me. I'm pawpaw. I'm soft. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm soft. I am. When it comes to that oldest one, she knows she has the power. Doodle, she knows she has the power. She doesn't abuse it, but she know when it comes time, she gonna supersede all other grandkids. And I'm sorry, look, y'all bear with me for a second. I don't have anywhere to be until later on. Y'all bear with me for a second. Hey, how many of you all out there have kids? Raise your hand. How many of you all out there have grandkids? Raise your hand. Well, let's just start with the people who have kids, because I already know if I ask this question about grandkids. Side note, so John Hickman, the co-host of Locked On Texas podcast with me, says that he is his grandmother's favorite, even though he's not the oldest or the baby. I said, how that's gonna work, John? I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest child and grandchild, so I know how that works. I know how it goes. You either got to be the oldest or the baby. You got to be the first or the last. You got to either be the alpha or the omega. Hey, it might be some offering taken up here soon. Anyway, y'all don't lie. Do not lie. Do not lie. Drop it in the comments right now. Drop it in the comments right now. If you have multiple kids, you got a favorite child. I know you tell them you love them all the same, but it's one that just stands out. It is one that stands out. Y'all can't lie. It's one. When it comes to my grandkids, I love them all. what is it? A total of 6 of them. I love them all. I love them all to death. I do. But Doodle, McKinley, the oldest one, she got a little bit more leeway than the rest of them. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm just telling you the truth. Nobody wants to tell you the truth, but right here on the Sports Talk with Big Star show, I'll tell you the truth, because whether you want to admit it or not, you know you have, if you got multiple kids, you got a favorite child. If you don't have any kids and you got nieces and nephews, you got a favorite. If you're a grandparent, you got a favorite grandchild. Like, stop it. Stop it. Let's keep it a buck right here. Let's just go ahead and tell the truth. You know you got a favorite. Now, you try to treat them all the same, but if that favorite wants something, listen, the favorite should be the spokesperson for the rest of them, right? The favorite, the favorite child or the favorite grandchild should be the spokesperson for the rest of the children or the grandchildren. I'll give you an example, then we're going to move on. What's up, AD? I'm going to give you an example, and then I'm going to move on real quick. So you all know, a couple of weeks ago, my 2 granddaughters came from California to Texas to visit their dad, their stepdad. His parents are prior military and they live in Killeen. So they came because their grandfather on their stepdad's side was having surgery. So they came down to see him. And then my wife and I drove from Houston to Killeen to go and hang out with them. So we hung out with them for the day, but I had to take them back because I think that was the week that the Texans were I think that's when the Texans were playing the Bills, the Buffalo Bills. So it had to be about 3 weeks ago. And so Wynn picked them up, went out to eat, went to Starbucks, went to the outlet mall. So we're walking around, we're going in the stores, this, that, and the other. And so McKinley, who is the oldest, I've said that on numerous occasions, but I have to tell you all again for those of you all who are just joining. McKinley wanted to go into Claire's. I don't know how many of you all have been in Claire's, and Claire's is not a sponsor of the Sports Talk with Big Sarge show, but you can be if you're listening. So you're going to Claire's, and it's all this stuff. It's just a whole bunch of just girly stuff, just a whole bunch of pinks and blues and yellows and a whole bunch of things. So Zia walks over and she sees one of these backpacks, and she's like, I like this backpack, Pawpaw. Can I get one? I was like, take a look around a little bit more and see if it's something else you like. Okay. She walks around. She goes with my wife. They walk around. Me and Doodle are together. Doodle walks up to the backpack and says, hey, Pawpaw, I like this backpack. Can I have it? Sure. Hey, go get your sister. Go get your sister, bring her over here, tell her to pick out a backpack too. I'm sorry. It's just how it happens. She's the favorite. And you see how that worked? She got her sister a backpack. Some of y'all will never admit it, but you do have a favorite child if you have multiple children, and you do have a favorite grandchild if you have multiple grandchildren. You do have favorite nieces and nephews if you have multiples. That's just the way it is. Once again, you tune into the Sports Talk with Big Sarge show. I'm your host, Big Sarge. All right, on today's show, Texans revert back to their old ways. Let's look at the selfie instead of the panoramic. You remember we all talked about that, right? We know the difference between a selfie, which is just the individual view, and a panoramic, which is a whole view, right? So when it comes to the Texans offensive line, let's stop looking at the selfie, because you all are pointing out one person and you ain't looking at the panoramic view, which is an entire view. It's an entire view of we're gonna talk about it. Texas defensive line is destructive, and the Rockets are back in action tonight against the San Antonio Spurs. He played a very good game on a back-to-back on Saturday. I was there, and the Spurs jumped out to a 22-point lead, and the Rockets came back on them and was within 2 points, but faltered at the end. I think that they played very, very well to come back from 22 points. Hopefully, Alperen Şengün can bounce back from. We're going to talk about that in a little bit later on in the show. All right. Hey, look. Hey, drop this in the comments and raise your hand. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of them. I'm tired of the excuses when it comes to the Texans and second half scoring. Like, I know that I can't be the only one. I know that you fans are fed up as well. I know that you fans are fed up with the fact that you have so many offensive weapons and you all can't seem and they can't seem to score in the second half. Just like I said on my post game recap on my video, hey, you can go to my YouTube channel right now and see that. Make sure you you know, like it, comment, tell me what you think about it. I'm tired of hearing myself say it. I'm tired of it. I am. And I want to avoid it. I want to. But the Texans are making it to whereas I have to talk about it damn near every week. Oh, wait, hold on, y'all. I got something. I forgot to do this. Now that we done started the show. Y'all. Let me get back to that. Cause hey, look, and for those of y'all who wants to know, yes, pew, I am taking shots. They know who they are. All right. It covers up my shirt though. My shirt looks good today. If I bring it down, then I'm gonna cover up the sergeant. I digress. I'm tired of the excuses. I am tired of the excuses that the Houston Texans coaching staff is giving every week about. Listen, I already know we're going to get a chance to speak with D'Amico today because it is a short week. So we're going to be out there Monday and Tuesday, which is Tuesday's normally an off day. We're going to be out there on Monday and Tuesday. Then they travel on Wednesday because they play on Thursday. I myself will be traveling on Wednesday because I will be at the game on Thursday night against the New York Jets in prime time. The only show that talks Texans and Rockets in real time and travels. Yes, I did wake up wanting smoke. And what have I always said? I want the smoke, and I'm the lighter. How many times are the Houston Texans coaching staff going to keep talking about their offensive woes in the second half? How many times? Why do we have to keep hearing that? How come? I think I said this on Locked On Texas. Hey, I'm tired of hearing it. Like, show it to me. Show me the type of offense that you have. Show me the type of plays that you can call, Bobby. Show me. Show me. Show me how you can be effective. Show me. I'm tired. I'm tired of it. But hey, look, let me tell you something. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna talk about it every week until it gets fixed. That's the only way. Like, I guess if you keep talking about a problem, eventually it'll get fixed. Now, I can't fix it because I'm not coaching. I can only ask the questions. And unfortunately, we won't talk to the coordinators this week because it's a short week. So D'Amico's going to have to answer all the questions. Bobby's not going to be there to take questions because the coordinators aren't going to talk about it because they're not having a press conference. So guess what? D'Amico gonna have to. And I'm pretty sure he's going to get frustrated behind the questions because it's a frustrating question. You can start to see some of the frustration from him in these press conferences when he's talking about these second half adjustments not being made on the offensive side of the ball. Like, he knows it too. As a former player and as a coach, he knows that the Houston Texans have issues on the offensive side of the ball in the second half. And we're tired of the excuses, right? Like, raise your hand, drop it in the comments if you're tired of the excuses. Let me give you all some numbers. Let me tell you how terrible the Texans offense is in the second half. In week 1, they scored 17 points against the Colts. After that, 3 against the Bears, 7 against the Vikings, 7 against the Jags, 6 against the Bills, 27 against the Patriots, 3 against the Packers, and 6 on Sunday against the Colts. All those numbers I just gave you are the amount of points that the Houston Texans have scored in each game in the second half. Now, just like I said before, I said this on social media, I'll say it again right here on Sports Talk with Big Sarge. They're still 6-2. So you'd rather work out these type of issues while you're winning than being 2-6 and not working out and being 2-6 and still trying to figure it out. I'd rather figure it out by being 6-2 and being the second best team in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs, who are still undefeated. But I'd rather be figuring it out, leading the AFC South division. I'd rather be figuring it out as I try to win a couple of more games and get myself prepared for the playoffs. I'd rather be trying to figure it out that way at 6-2 than trying to figure it out at 2-6. So for as much as we look at this negative when it comes to the offensive side of the ball in the second half, these second half woes for the Houston Texans offense, for as much as we look at that, they are still doing enough to win the game. They are. They're still doing enough to win the game. And look, and he brings up a good point. Marcus, you bring up a good point. Yeah, but we can't play like this versus the Lions and the Ravens in Kansas City. You're right. You can't even play like that against the Miami Dolphins, especially with Tua back. He may not scare you, but with the amount of speed that they have, that should scare you just a tad bit. So, and we'll get to that. We'll get to the latter half of their schedule sometime. We'll talk about that coming up here in the near future, especially as it gets closer. But right now, I'm just talking about what they have done in these first 8 games in the second half and offensively, and it's just not good. And if it's one game, you can say okay. If it's 3 games, you can say okay. But out of the 8 games, it's been 6 games. The Houston Texans are averaging 9.5 points in the second half. 6 times they have scored 7 points or less in the second half. Now, stop me if you heard this before. Kaimi Fairbairn, the kicker, can average 9 points by himself. And when you have a CJ Stroud, when you have a Joe Mixon, when you have Tank Dell, listen, we don't know the status of Stephon Diggs yet, and we probably won't find out until tomorrow. If I had to take an educated guess, and I am an educated man because I did graduate from Prairie View A&M University. PV, I said I graduated. I didn't say I attended. I said I graduated from Prairie View A&M University. I would say that they would probably hold out Stephon Diggs this week. If it's not a season-ending injury, they'll probably keep him out this game and see where they are heading into the Lions game in a couple of days. I think they have 10 days before their next game after they play the Jets on Thursday. I would not risk putting Stephon Diggs on that surface at MetLife Stadium. No way, no how. You Texans fans, you all remember what happened last year when the Texans went to play the Jets. They lost CJ, they lost Nico, they lost Will, they lost Blake Cashman, and they lost Jonathan Grenard. You definitely don't want to put someone who's dealing with the injury like that back on the field. And I feel that, you're going to have Tank Dell out there, but I feel that Mechie and Hutch can do an adequate job. And this is the time where you have to use the tight ends. We're going to talk about the tight ends in just a second. But, I wouldn't put Stephon Diggs out there. But with the amount of firepower that they do have on the offensive side of the ball, you should be able to score more than 9.5 points. You should be more than capable of averaging more than 9.5 points in 8 games in the second half. That's just how it is. Too many times we talked about how explosive this offense was coming out of training camp heading into the regular season. And then after the first game with the Colts and they scored that 17 points, you was like, in the second half, you're like, all right, this may be something. But then they score only 3 points against the Bears, 7 points against the Vikings. They got shut out in the first half of that game. 7 points against the Vikings, 7 points against the Jags, 6 points against the Bills, 3 points against the Packers. And against the Indianapolis Colts, you're only able to score 6 points. Stop. Hold on. Let me preach this sermon by myself this time. Like, listen, drop it in the comments. I definitely want the feedback from the congregation, but just give me a second. Let me preach this sermon by myself. We're going to talk about the offensive line. Don't jump the gun just yet. Now, I'm going to definitely solicit the amens and the you go on, Pastor, preach, Pastor, preach. I'm going to, we're going to get to that part in the offensive line, but let me finish this first. 9.5 points is horrible. But on the flip side of that, one of the reasons why you're still winning, one reason why you're 5-1 you're 5-1 in games that 7 points decided by 7 points or less. One of the reasons why the defense is only giving up 12.6 points in the second half. They're only allowing 12.6 points in the second half. That defense is amazing. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in this show. But one of the reasons why the Texans offense has been able to get away with only averaging 9.5 points in the second half is because that defense is only giving up 12.6 points per game in the second half. Now, with that being said, right? At some point, Bobby's going to have to say to himself, how long can the defense save us? How long can the defense save us? How long do we have to keep putting the defense out there because we're having wasted possessions? Wasted possessions in the second half, coming away with no scores or even a field goal. Coming away with no scores or coming away with just a field goal when cool, that's points, but you need more, especially when you're getting inside of the red zone and you're only coming away with 3 points, which is another issue that we need to talk about right now. Y'all hold on. We're going to get to the offensive line. Just give me a second. It seems like Bobby succumbs to the pressure of play calling once he gets inside of that red zone. Once the field shortens up, it's almost like he overthinks things. He gets conservative, but he overthinks. He's conservative, but he overthinks the play calling, which is when you have that short amount of space to work with inside the red zone, you shouldn't be playing for 3 points. You should be playing for touchdowns. And the reason why I brought up the short amount of space is because you have space eaters. You have players who can eat up space inside the red zone. You have a Tank Dell who can eat up space. When Nico's healthy, he can eat up space. You have Stephon Diggs who can eat up space. But you have two capable big tight ends that can eat up space. And it's almost like you just don't even know that you. Sometimes I feel like when Dalton Schultz is on the field and Cade Stover standing next to him, or when Cade Stover is when Dalton Schultz is on the field and Cade Stover is standing next to him, or vice versa, it's almost like Bobby just look at him as an extra lineman. Now, don't get me wrong. Joe Mixon is one of the best red zone running backs in the league. He's one of the best red zone running backs in the league. But you have two capable big wide receivers that can go and post up some of these smaller defensive backs or can run better routes than linebackers can cover. And once you get into the red zone, Bobby, you get so conservative because you're depending on the leg of Kaimi Fairbairn, and you shouldn't have to do that. And one of the reasons why I say you shouldn't have to do that, because you have one of the best quarterbacks in the game, but you get conservative and you get conservative, and then you get so limited in what you're doing that you're like, well, if it doesn't work, we'll just kick a field goal. No, no, because there's going to be times and there's going to be games where you need touchdowns. And if you're not practicing to get that right now early on in the season, it may be a little bit more difficult for you the latter half of the season. Just like we talked about, the Lions, you're not going to beat the Lions with just field goals in the second half. If you want to beat the Lions, you're going to have to beat the Lions with touchdowns. And I know that the Baltimore Ravens dropped the game to the Cleveland Browns. And when we do our Big Stars Chain of Command rankings on Tuesday, we'll talk about that. I know that the Ravens just lost to the Browns, but you can't beat the Ravens with just field goals in the second half. You can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs with just field goals in the second half. And I'm going to be honest with you. Some of y'all are not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can't beat the Dallas Cowboys once they get healthy, once they get Micah back, and once they can get is Deron Bland scheduled to come back by the time they play on Monday night? The Cowboys are going to get healthy. You're not going to beat the Cowboys with just field goals, despite their inefficiencies that they have on the offensive side of the ball. So it's time. I don't know what part of the playbook you're going to have to open, Bobby. I don't know what part of the playbook you're going to have to go to, but you're going to have to open it up. You're going to have to start scoring more than 9.5 points in the second half. You're going to have to stop depending on your defense, who's averaging 12 points, who's only giving up 12.6 points per game in the second half. You're going to have to learn how to use those bigger tight ends, those big body tight ends down in the red zone. Remember I said earlier, right? Remember I was talking about wasted possessions? Let me give you a stat. Let me give y'all a stat. Stat me down. So I'm on, stat me down. I'm on, stat me down. I'm on, stat me down. I got on red. I guess I feel like a Kappa, huh? You ever seen that video when Boosie brought the Kappas on stage and they was doing that shimmy and he started doing it too? And I was like, hey, my guy, you can't do that. It's like you can't do that. I know you're a gangster, but like you gotta go through a process to be able to do that. You can't do that, Boosie. Let me give you all a stat. The Houston Texans offense has had the ball 47 times in the second half in 8 games. They've had 47 possessions in the second half in their first 8 games of the season. 21 punts, 7 touchdowns, 9 field goals, 6 turnovers, 2 turnover on downs, and 2 possessions were end of the game. 47 possessions. Why you say gangster like that, eh? Charleston White got me in that mindset. 47 possessions for the Houston Texans offense in the second half in the first 8 games of the season. 21 punts, 7 touchdowns, 9 field goals, 6 turnovers, 2 turnovers on down, and 2 end of game possessions. Where they do that at? Let me take this down because my shirt looked too good for me to keep covering it up. Big blood. Nah, not me. No. I only gang bang for whoa, pause. No Diddy. Hey, yo, slow down. The only gang I'm in is the gang of Jesus. That's it. I'm in Jesus' gang. This is the blood of the Lamb shed at Calvary. Why am I in a preaching mode today? That's what this read is. This read, I know it was the blood. I know it was the blood. I know it was the blood for me. One day when I was lost, he died up on the cross. I know it was the blood for me. There's no other show that you're going to get your host to sing like that. No other host is going to do that. Speaking of Jesus, though, for those who believe. And I'm hoping Bobby believes in Jesus because he's gonna have to pray to somebody. Because these 47 possessions, these empty possessions that they've had 21 points. Look, I ain't a mathematician or nothing. AD, you got the electrical engineering degree, right? Like mechanical engineer. I don't know. You could build stuff with Legos. Like you good in math. AD. Lies. AD does over at H-Town Run. AD, do that for me. If they have 47 possessions and 21 of those have been punts, what's that percentage? Somebody help me out. They got to do better. They got to do better. When AD comes up with that percentage, I mean, because he went to Prairie View too, so I know he got, he had to take a lot of math. I don't know if Dr. Frazier was still alive. God rest Freddie Frazier's soul. He was a great professor, but he had to do a lot of math. There we go. Hey, look. Out of 47 possessions, they've had 21 punts. That's 45% of 45% of their offense in the second half in the first 8 games has been punts. What are we doing here, Bobby? What are we doing here? All right, y'all. Listen, we've had church, right? We've had church. I should have me one of them, what y'all calling them super twitchy type of things where I could have collected money so I could have got donations, the super chats or whatever they call them. I need to look into that. I should have had something where I was gonna collect some money for the offering because y'all got a good sermon. Y'all got a good sermon in the beginning. And now I'm on demon time. Now I'm on demon time. Listen, let me tell you all something. That Houston Texans offensive line, they have multiple issues. Multiple. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, I know what y'all want to talk about. I know you want to talk about Kenyon Green. You want to talk about Kenyon Green being benched for Jared Patterson, right? And then they come in and they score, and you're like, oh, look what we could do if we didn't have Kenyon Green. I got that part. And you can talk about that. Cool. You got it. You got it. I talked to Kenyon yesterday. I put that video out. I talked to him exclusively. I put that video out on my social media at Big Sorry Sports with the Z at the end on the app formerly known as what? Twitter. We talked about that. I asked Kenyon about that. And Kenyon said, hey, look, I played bad. He said, when I got benched, they made the decision. They took me out the game. When I came back in, he had to come back in because Jared Patterson got hurt on that touchdown drive. He got a concussion and he had to be pulled out. So they had to put Kenyon back in the game. And when he came back in the game, he didn't play as bad as he had been playing. See, one of the issues is Kenyon got into his own head. He got into his own head. And when he started making bad plays, instead of flushing those bad plays out, he let them fester in his mind. And then once you allow those things to fester in your mind, anybody here who has played sports, anybody in here that's had to do anything that's performance-based, because it doesn't just have to be sports. It could also be at your job. It could also be at home. Hey, listen. I told y'all we on demon time now, right? We on demon time. What Corey at? Because I know he finna come in here and try to ruin my marriage. We on demon time right now, right? Performance based could also be what you be doing in the bedroom. I'm just saying. If you have a couple of bad outings, you get to thinking. Hey, whoa. I remember when I used to smack it up, flip it, rub it down. Oh no! I remember when I used to be able to do that, but now I'm just 3 hard pumps and a grind. I digress. Kenyon allowed his bad plays to fester in his mind and in his head, and where he should have been flushing those out, he did not. And so Kenyon had a bad game. Kenyon had a bad game. Even when he played good, he was still playing bad. But he wasn't the only one. And that's where I get confused. That's where I get confused. Because it wasn't just Kenyon having a bad game. It was the entire offensive line having a bad game. On my Twitter page, I put up a still shot. When I first seen the play, y'all remember the play, the last I think it may have been, was it the last offensive possession that they had? Or next to the last offensive possession on the fumble. You remember on the fumble, right? Can you remember on the fumble when CJ tried to pitch the ball to Joe Mixon? The toss was too high and behind Joe Mixon, and they fumbled. The Colts defensive lineman picked it up. Fortunate for the Houston Texans, he was able to be touched before he got down the field because he did score, but they ruled him down by contact. Y'all remember that play, right? I put up the steal shot because at first I said, I thought it was Cade Stover. I thought Cade Stover had ran into CJ and caused the fumble. That's what I thought. When I first seen it, I was like, dang. And I think I even tweeted that. I said, man, Cade Stover has been on the end of a lot of bad plays this season. And so I looked, I was like, wait a minute. Go back and look at the play, Sarge. Go back and look at the play. When you go back and you look at the play, do you know what caused the fumble? Wasn't Kenyon Green. It was Juice Scruggs. As soon as Juice snapped the ball wasn't even in CJ's hand good enough. Because you remember, CJ was under center. The ball wasn't even in CJ's hands before Juice was on CJ's back. When CJ took the snap and turned to pitch, by that time, Juice had already been stood up and pushed back into CJ. Now, you can see their feet get crossed. CJ feels the contact, tries to get the ball out, and turns out to be a fumble, which could have ended the game because we just talked about how inefficient the offense was. You can't say that they was you can't say that that the Texans would have came back and won the game because they would have been down 4 points at that point. Yeah, they'd have been down 4 points, so you couldn't have a field goal to win the game. You was gonna have to score a touchdown. And I mean, with their second half woes, as far as offense, you don't know what they were going to do. But Juice got blew up. Throughout the entire day, Titus didn't look good. Shaq didn't look good. Juice didn't look good. Kenyon didn't look good. And Laramie didn't look good. The focal point was on Kenyon, but it should have been on the entire line. That's why I always tell you all, stop looking at the selfie and look at the panoramic view. It's bigger than what you all are seeing. Because you get focused on, not everybody, but some of you all get tunnel vision and you get focused on, and then the narrative gets to spinning that it's just Kenyon, it's just Kenyon, it's just Kenyon. Oh, well, they pulled Kenyon out the game. Kenyon wasn't the only one that could have been replaced on Sunday. It was a lot of bad play from the offensive line. There was another play where CJ dropped back, and before CJ could complete his drop back, Shaq Mason was in his chest. Shaq Mason had been stood up and pushed back into CJ. And that's exactly what's been happening the entire time. On yesterday, the Colts defensive front destroyed the Houston Texans offensive line as a whole, as a unit. Every time you look around, it's pressure coming from somewhere. You're not even giving CJ enough time to even survey the field. He can't go through his reads and his progressions because he's constantly under pressure. You all remember the pass that he missed, the wide open pass he missed to K Stover. Could he have set his feet a little bit more? Of course. Did he have just a smidge? He had a tad bit more time, but even then, he releases the ball and he gets hit. And we've talked about this before, for as much as we love CJ, for as much as we love watching CJ play, hey, look, he's still a human and he's still a quarterback, and taking all those hits take a toll. And if you're taking those hits week in and week out, where are my notes? He took those hits against the Bears. He took those hits against the Vikings. He took those hits against the Jags. He took those hits against the Bills. He took those hits against the Packers. And he took those hits on Sunday against the Colts again. And at some point, in the back of his mind, even if there's nobody there, he's thinking, damn, out of 5 plays, I've been on the run at least 3.5 of them. I've got to watch. I got to make sure that I got enough time to even see Tank or see Schultz or even see Diggs. There was another play where he dropped the ball off in the flats to Dalton Schultz when he had Stephon Diggs running wide open over top. But he doesn't have that amount of time anymore to survey the field and go up the levels because the offensive line is not giving him enough time. That's it. We talk about Kenyon, right? On yesterday, the Indianapolis Colts had 28 quarterback pressures, right? Now, the Texans only gave up 2 sacks. They only gave up 2 sacks, but they gave up 28 quarterback pressures. 8 for Laramie, 7 for Green, 5 for Titus, 5 for Juice, and 3 for Shaq Mason. Laramie had 8. Kenyon had 7, Titus had 5, Juice had 5, and Shaq had 3. 28 quarterback pressures is a lot. A lot. And don't get me wrong, I know what the Colts defensive front looks like. I know how good the Colts defensive front 4 and their linebackers are, but like CJ got to have more time. And now if you go into this next game without Nico and without Stephon, now you're depending on Tank. Now you're depending on Hutch. Now you're depending on Metch. Hutch and Metch, who have had snaps this season, but haven't had the amount of snaps that they're going to get. Hutch has been getting more because Nico's injury. But now you're asking CJ to make sure he's on the same page with these 2 players that he gets practice time with, but he doesn't get a lot of practice time with them. Now y'all got to be on the same page. And it was, hey, listen, let me tell you something. I will say this, that pass that he made to Metch on yesterday, remember he scrambled out and he seen Metch and he did like this and he dropped it right into Metch, right over the defenders. But you got to give him time. And even then he was scrambling. And so what I can't understand is why y'all just harping on Kenyon Green and not on the entire offensive line. And don't get me wrong, they all took accountability. Laramie said he could have played better. Titus said he could have played better. Shaq said he could have played better. And Juice said he could have played better. Let me put this up there. You ain't seen nothing yet. Just D line with Quentin Williams, Will McDonald, and Hassan Reddick will feast on this line. This line reminds me of what Burrow had to put up with 2 years ago. That is a great point. They call me Mr. Nobody. That is a great point. And those guys right there are some monsters. And you are right. Burrow had to put up with that 2 years ago. But was that the years? Wait, hold on. Was that the year they went to the Super Bowl, or was that the year they went to the AFC Championship? Can you tell me that, Mr. Nobody? I think it's personal, something going on with that offensive line. Could be. And the crazy part about it is you want to have Kenyon replaced, but it's Strausser the one that should be replaced. Like, you just call it like a TI is, y'all. I told you. Right now I'm on some demon time. And if he ain't getting it done, then I mean, if you're getting this outcome with him, then I mean, you could do without him and y'all just put it together. Hey, somebody else, you got to step up, because if you're going to keep getting this performance from this offensive line every week, then that means it's 50% on the players and 50% on the coaching. That means that there's a disconnect and something ain't right. Something ain't right. They're not getting it together. They're not getting it together. I'm going to allow this because we are on demon time, and I think it's hella funny. The O line is like a Caucasian Harlem shuffle. Wow. Sheesh. That's hilarious. Could it have been a domino effect from KG from the smaller sample size of putting Patterson in and the games from 23 that the O line went on to score off of Mixon run? So let me say this, Riff Raff, if I got that right. So the Texans haven't really had a big issue as far as run blocking is concerned. And that's because you do have Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon makes up for a lot of the issues. But when they're firing off the ball, a lot of the times they they're getting a lot, done. And give me 1 second, y'all. Let me do this for y'all. Let me do this. Here we go. Let me see. What is that? No. Let's do this. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this back up. So let's see if they have this available. Let's see if they have this available. Here we go. Huh, huh. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Okay. Don't want to do it that way. I want to do it that way. Let's do it this way. All right, y'all. Hold on 1 second. Oh, let me do that. Here we go. And this because this show is in real time. Hold on, I'm gonna take that down. Because this show is in real time, and I want to make sure that you all do get the best Texans talk. Let me share my screen. Got me saying, "Oh my God, no in love." Bump, 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 bump. Y'all can see that? So let's take a look at it, right? Let's take a look at it. Here we go. Why is it freezing like that? It's okay. See if I can. Okay, so I'm still sharing it. All right, here we go. This is a Joe Mixon touchdown run. Let's see. We want to run. Let's look at it from right here. So I don't know if this has anything to do with Kenyon or Jarrett being in the game, because we can see that, right? It's just Joe Mixon making a play. Let's go through this thing slowly. Here we go. Jared Patterson is falling down already. So I don't know if that. I mean, I'm not saying. Look, I'm not just trying to call him out, but we're talking about this is the touchdown run, and as you can see, there's a Joe Mixon. It's his cutback. Then you got Tank blocking downfield. You got Stephon blocking downfield. Look at it from the sideline view. It's just a big hole. Pause. Hey, yo. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know. And the offensive line just has issues, period. Point blank. Go ahead and put that call in functioning. Oh, man. Yes, exactly. They call me Mr. Nobody. What are you willing to tolerate eventually becomes your standard. If this organization continues to allow this nonsense to play out, we as fans should not expect to change anytime soon. Right. They're going to say it's his cut block on the linebacker that gave Joe the lane. Whoa, what cut? Did I miss something? Come on, y'all. Like I said, y'all know this is an interactive show. Let me see something. Nah, let me look at it from this way. All right, hold on. I'm gonna share the screen again. Let me share the screen again, and I want to see. Here we go. This is why I like y'all. Y'all are some very good people. This is why I like y'all. Let me see if we. Here we go. Now let's walk through this thing. Patterson is already on the ground. This, I mean, what is he doing different than Kenyon would have done? All he doing is passing them off. He passing them off to Laramie, and he's getting up to the second level, but he don't even look. He don't. He just he falling. He falling. And if we keep him at a buck, who's number 45? Is that Speed or is that Franklin? I think that's whichever one that is. I think that's Speed. Speed is over pursuing. That's over pursuing. Now, look at that though. Titus getting a good block. Shaq getting a good block. Juice getting out there. And look, that's a great block by who is that? Is that Stove? No, that's who is that coming across? That Robert Woods. Oh, that's Stover. That's gonna come across and get a good cut block. Then he just cuts back. So I didn't plan on doing that, but this is hold on. In real time. So I don't understand. I mean, Patterson was in there. So I mean, what would have been done differently if Kenyon would have been in there? Are you telling me that Kenyon couldn't stumble into an over pursuing linebacker? I'm asking. I'm asking. Hold on. It wasn't a block. He was falling. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Illy Woogie. I'm just gonna say Woogie. Woogie. He was falling. Falling. If Speed stays where he needs to stay, it doesn't over pursue. You know what happens? Patterson falls right at his feet. He took care of his assignment. What was his assignment? You're right. He passed him off to Laramie. He tripped the dude. No, 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 AD. We still on demon time. We still on demon time. You're right, but we're still on demon time. So all I'm saying is this. All I'm saying is that there's an offensive line issue. There isn't just a single offensive lineman issue. They have issues as a whole. They have issues as a whole. Sound like you're daring Sarge to do what? Did I miss something? What did dare me to do? Do what? Anyway, no, he couldn't, Sarge. If how do you know that? How do you know that? It wasn't. Are we looking at the same thing? Jared Patterson didn't get out and get some monster block and knock the linebacker off on his ass. He was falling and put his arms out to trip him. You call that good offensive line play? Point is, we took out Green, they score. Simple. So you're telling me that Green is also the issue that Green is also the reason why the Texans can't score in the second half? I'm good, Wiggy. I'm gonna move on with this show. I'm good. They got an offensive line issue, not just an offensive lineman issue. All right. Now, hey, look, now that I'd have been on demon time, Look, now first of all, I done preached to y'all. I'd have been on demon time, and now I'm back to preaching. Hey, look. Woo! We got all that flushed out the system, right? Oh, right. We're good, right? We're good. Hey, you can still drop in. You can still. Hold on. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with with the gospel singer Donnie McClurkin. And look, side note for those of you all don't know, hey, there is a difference between Christian music and gospel. There's just something different about the rhythm. It's just a little bit something different between Christian and gospel. So I don't know how many of you all know the gospel singer Donnie McClurkin, but if you do, you know that what AD is saying right now is hilarious. We fall down, but we get up. So look, we done flushed all that out of the system, right? We done flushed out the Houston Texans second half offensive woes. We done flushed out the Houston Texans offensive line issues. We done flushed out Bobby Slowick play calling. We done flushed out Strasser's, the offensive line coach. We didn't his inefficiency to be able to connect to his players, the offensive line. We done flushed all that out the system, right? It gone, done, period. Now let's talk about some real shit. Let's talk about some good shit. Can you cuss and still say you preaching? I've seen the cussing preacher though. I've seen the cussing preacher. I ain't him. I think that he's funny. I would never do it. So, hey, let me put my hand over my heart. You know what that means? All right, let's get to some good stuff. Let's get back to the good stuff, y'all. Hey, even though CJ was moving in the pocket too much, so glad that the Houston Texans have a player like CJ Stroud at the quarterback position that can still make things happen. It was very good to see CJ bounce back with 285 yards passing a touchdown, especially after only throwing for 86 yards in the game against the Packers. A game they still could have won. Hey, where Jimmy at? Hey, where the Packer fan Jimmy at? Hey, let's talk about y'all. It's supposed to be your such explosive offense. And I know your quarterback went down. You had Malik Willis come in, but some of y'all told me that Malik Willis could have beat the Houston Texans. And so I see, barely beat the Jags, huh? One of the reasons why the Houston Texans play the Jags so close is because they're a divisional rival and they play them 2 times a year. So, you know, when you play your divisional rival, the games ain't going to be blowouts. They're going to be played close because they're 2 teams that have seen each other on a lot on numerous occasions. Y'all almost lost to the Jags. I digress. Jimmy, are you not here? Oh, you MIA today. I got you. CJ had a very efficient game, and CJ was able to overcome adversity, even though he was being pressured a lot. Him being able to move in the pocket, keep the ball going. It was good to see him bounce back. Hey, we on the good right now. See, we gonna finish up with the good. We not gonna. Well, we flushed out all the bad. We're gonna finish up with the good. Hey, Joe Mixon is a dog. Joe Mixon is a monster, and he runs so angry and so aggressive. I love it. I love it. Love it. You know, on yesterday they gave Andre Johnson his Hall of Fame ring, and they presented it to him at the halftime of the game. And Arian Foster was in attendance, which is real interesting because there's a lot of individuals, a lot of Texans fans who want Arian Foster's jersey retired, and I can see that. I think that with what he did in the amount of time he was here with the Houston Texans, he's the best running back the Houston Texans have ever had. If Joe Mixon stays here for a couple of more years, he may be able to pass that. We just have to see. But Arian Foster is the best running back that the Houston Texans have ever had. I can see him being put up there. And you know, you hardly ever see Arian around. You can see him on social media, but you don't hardly ever see him in the streets. Like he move in silence for real. But from what I was told, Arian Foster was very impressed with what he's seen from Joe Mixon and what he has seen from Joe Mixon. From what I was told, Arian Foster says that Joe Mixon is a really good back. And he likes his running style. He likes the way he runs aggressive. He likes the way that he runs hard. He likes the way that he's always looking to be able to get to where he needs to be, all the while not afraid of taking contact. Because he will hit you. He'll hit you first. And that's why, a lot of these players love Joe Mixon. Let me tell you what Will Anderson told me yesterday after the game when I asked him about Mixon. He said, that is by far one of the best moves Nick made. That's by far one of the best moves that Nick made. He said he is very important to our team. He said not just with the way he plays, but the way that he thinks and the way that he leads. See, when I tell you all, some of you all take it as criticism when I be talking about, hey, sometimes you got to be at the game to see stuff instead of watching it on TV. Sometimes you can't just talk to me about certain things because there's certain things that television doesn't show. When that offensive line was playing bad, well, last week against the Packers, when they were playing bad, you know who pulled them into the whole offense into a huddle? Joe Mixon. Yesterday, when the offensive line wasn't playing good, Joe Mixon went down and gave everybody some dapped everybody up and say, we're going to get this together. We're going to get this together. And so that's the type of player that Joe Mixon is. And in every game that he's been in, let me make sure I got this. Joe Mixon has recorded 100 yards and a touchdown in 4 of the first 5 games he has played in. So you it's almost one of those things where you're saying, hey, look, we're not doing good as an offensive unit, but for us to have Joe Mixon and for us to have, CJ, and when you get Nico back, look, I don't know the status. Like I said, I don't know the status of of Stephon Diggs right now. We're going to find out here pretty soon what his status is. But when you look at what Joe Mixon brings, and when you look at what what Nico Collins can bring, you're looking at 2 players that you're saying to yourself, wow, we can get it done. Oh man, here we go again. I don't even know where that charger is. Oh well, we're just gonna have to thug it out, y'all, because my battery's about to die on my computer, but we're gonna have to thug this thing out. But before my computer dies, let me move on and listen. Let me pull this up right quick. Hey, hello. Let's talk about it. We're going to end on this. See, when you're preaching, right? One of the things they teach you when you're going to preach a sermon is, you got your introductory, then you got your 3 points, and then you always got to end at the cross, right? You always got to end at the cross. For some of you all, I know this may be a little bit too churchy for you, but that's just who I am. I was raised a Southern Baptist, and there's a lot of people who follow this show who can relate. And if I offended you as far as your religious beliefs, I apologize. But that's just who I am, y'all. I can't. It's embedded in me. I can't. I listen. I don't ever use the word can't, but I can't stop being a Southern Baptist. That's just who I am. So we're gonna end at the cross right now, right? Because the cross is the redemption story, right? The cross is where the redemption story starts, right? Because Jesus died on the cross, and then 3 days later, he's resurrected, right? They went to the tomb, he was gone. And that's where the story gets good and gooder and gets better and better. I don't know who's been watching. I don't know if y'all have been watching, but this defense is amazing. They so destructive. Oh, that defensive line is so destructive. And hey, what did I say last week? Y'all know if Will Anderson Jr. keeps on this pace, he's going to make All-Pro. Tell you what Will Anderson did on yesterday. Finished the game tied for first on the team in tackles with 7, 5 solo, and 1 sack. Anderson is one of 8 players in the NFL this season that recorded at least 1 sack in 3 consecutive games. The defensive end, Danielle Hunter, finished the game with 2 total tackles, including 2 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. It marked Hunter's 5th career multiple sack game and his first since December 16, 2023 against Cincinnati. According to Next Gen Stats, Hunter generated a team high 12 pressures on 33 rushes against the Colts, the second most pressures in a game this season, the highest pressure rate, 36.4, minimum 20 pass rushes. Tim Settle Jr. finished the game with 3 tackles and 1 sack, marking his 5th sack of the season, which ties his single career high. He had 5 in 2020. We've seen the way Danico Autry has played. We've seen what Foley Fatukasi has done. Like, I'm just going to start with the defensive line and how destructive they have been and how much pressure they're putting on these quarterbacks. And look, I know a lot of you all want to talk bad about Anthony Richardson, and that's cool. He may not be the most accurate quarterback in the league. He may not be it. Well, side note, his wide receivers kind of let him down on Sunday too. He may not be up there with the CJ Strauss and the Patrick Mahomes and the Joe Burrows and the Josh Allen. He may not be up there. He's not. But one thing that he is, he's big and strong and fast and athletic. And when he gets out of the pocket, he isn't easy to tackle. You seen he threw out Foley Fatukasi? Side note, Danielle Hunter said, oh, he was so mad about that. He kept cussing. And I told him, hey, man, we got to move on to the next play. He was so mad. You remember? Foley had him. He just shrugged him off like how Cam Newton used to do. Got him. Yes, Woogie. Hey, hold on. I got to say this real quick. Dameon Pierce is good at kick returns, too. You're right. Dameon Pierce recorded a 45-yard kick return, the second longest of his career. Pierce is the only player in the NFL with multiple 40-plus yard kick returns this season. Right. So that defensive line, very destructive. And then you got to look and see how head coach DeMeco Ryans has coached up these linebackers. Devin White had a really good game. Jake Hansen had a really good game. Neville Hewitt had a really good game. They never, ever were just really out of position. They were always where they needed to be. Of course, we know Jonathan Taylor's going to do Jonathan Taylor type thing. But that defense played good. Jalen Petrie. I know he gave up a touchdown. That he gave up the 60-yard bomb. That was on him. That was on him and Kalen Bullock. It wasn't just on Jalen, though. It was on Kalen Bullock, too. Because if you go back and you look at the play, Kalen goes with where Kamari has the man. All the while, you got the wide receiver running wide open. You got to stay there and watch and make sure because Jalen Petrie is getting beat by speed. He's outrunning Jalen. And you have to also know, Kalen Bullock, that the matchups that you see, you got to be ready for that and prepare for that. You got to know your personnel. KYP, that's what Email Doka tells the Rockets all the time. KYP, know your personnel. And you got to know that if Jalen is going to be on downs, I think that's who that was, right? AD, that was Downs that ran that. Like, you got to know, okay, look, if Kamari still has him, I got to make sure you're the last line of defense. And when you shift over like that, you left the whole side of a field wide open. So Jalen Petrie gave up that bomb. But you remember last week, Jalen Petrie was responsible for Neville Hewitt getting that interception on that first on that first drive by the Packers. He tipped the ball, he deflected the ball, and Neville Hewitt got it. This week, he had an interception at the end of close towards the end of the second quarter that allowed the Houston Texans to get points on the board before they went in at the half, which paid dividends, which was huge. They needed that. That's when one play, CJ found Tank in the back of the end zone. They needed that. Jalen Petrie has been balling. Derek Stingley was targeted 5 times, didn't give up a reception. Derek Stingley doing what Derek Stingley do. Eric Murray. AD, write this down. And I know y'all going to talk about it on the rundown, but I'm going to talk about it too this week. Eric Murray played a hell of a game. Matter of fact, if you go to Locked On Texas podcast, you'll hear John talk about it. Eric Murray played a hell of a game, and it was a welcome sight to see Kamari Lassiter back, who played a hell of a game. That defense is very good. That defense is playing like it's supposed to play. That defense is doing what it's supposed to do. All right, y'all. And I want to see, though, even though my computer's about to die, I got to get up out of here because at 12:15 the locker room opens, and so I'm going to get a chance to speak with some other people. Yeah, Yep. So we'll find out. I'm gonna definitely find out today. All right, y'all got to get up out of here. We will reconvene tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. And then on Wednesday, there won't be a morning show because I have to go to the airport. I'm traveling to New York for the game on Thursday, so I'm leaving out on Wednesday. So make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Because you know we do everything for the gram. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Big Sarge Media, and make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Texans podcast. I'm gonna send y'all an invoice. Y'all owe me some offering. Y'all owe me some tithe and some offering and some building fund money. Because y'all got y'all a good sermon today. That was that was a good sermon. I'm out.
Hard work, hard work, hard work.